From the City of Culture, live on Drive 105.3 FM, The Silver Fox Show.
It is indeed The Silver Fox here on Drive 105.3 FM, and in the studio joining me today is a gentleman by the name of Gavin Patton. And those of you who aren't aware of Gavin, Gavin Patton Films is what you check on YouTube, Gavin Patton Films, and you'll see a few, you'd almost say documentaries about local alcoholics, and simply not just a case of filming as boys. A lot of guys would do possibly, they take the hand out of them and mess about with them and see them how they are in an awful state of drink. But it's more to create awareness about alcohol, and I suppose there's no man better in doing it than Gavin, because Gavin had, well, I think around 14 years where the drink got a hold of him in a sense, but he's been able to turn his life around. He has indeed a degree in filming, I think got it around 1996, but there's no better man to chat about it than the man himself here. Gavin, you're very welcome.
How you doing? Thanks very much for having me.
And I suppose, Gavin, why don't you just tell us about yourself then?
Well, I'm 38. I did a degree in filmmaking when I was 18 to 21, but then I started drinking after that. So that's as far as my film career went. But when I sobered up, I just thought I would start to film, educate people about street alcoholics, and luckily I've been able to do that, and that's really what that website is set up to do, is to educate family members of alcoholics and to educate alcoholics themselves, because when I was an alcoholic or practicing alcoholic, I didn't know anything about it whatsoever, so hopefully this will teach some people.
And I was just trying to get a bit of information about yourself, for this interview, and it's just apparently, for the information what I have is you stopped drinking in 2005 after being told by a doctor in the Bronx in New York that your organs were in danger of shutting down.
That's right, they told me that my internal organs were all shiny, and I thought they were new. But of course, shiny organs aren't a good thing. They were shiny because they were swollen up and bloated. And I had pancreatitis, so I was on the verge of becoming a type 1 diabetic, which would have ruined my life altogether, because I would have been stuck taking insulin and things like that. But that was a terrible experience. I woke up one morning and my stomach was swollen up, and I tried to tell the doctor that I didn't drink much, and she just laughed, because she knew right away from the look of me and from my blood tests that it was soggy wee drink.
So where did this love affair become an addiction then with drink?
Well, when I was in England at university, I took a few drinks one night, and I just felt my whole life changing. Within a couple of weeks, I had discovered the morning drink, and this coming from a fella that never drank at all through his teenage years. The disease was waiting for me. They left that first drink, and then it got me. I started hiding drink under my bed from my roommate, and really I became an alcoholic from the first drink I took. I could just feel the power of alcohol overtaking me from the first drink I had when I went to England. I think I was nearly 20.
Do you think with alcoholism then, as in being an alcoholic, can you almost try to put blame on, or is it indeed a fact that it's hereditary in any way? Is there mother and father or something like that maybe who like to drink?
Well, on my mother's side there would be a lot of it, but I suppose it's a bit like blaming asbestos for giving people cancer. You know, what can you do?
Good point.
I mean, asbestos will give you cancer, so will cigarettes. Alcohol will only give a minority alcoholism, and that's why it's a disease. Whereas asbestos gives everybody cancer, where alcohol only creates a certain amount of alcoholics. There's no old story about you put 10 people in a room and feed them heroin for a month, you will get 10 heroin addicts out. At the end of that month, you put 10 people in a room and feed them alcohol for a month. At the end of that, you'll only get 3 alcoholics out, because they were the alcoholics that went in in the first place, and that's why alcoholism is a disease, because you're born with it.
And just in watching again Gavin Patton films, so just in watching some of the documentaries in which you've done on YouTube, it's kind of struck me that when you pass people, and I've done it as well, I have to admittedly say, that you pass alcoholics, you think, well, you know what, they've probably very low education, they haven't really come from anywhere, and they're now just because of life circumstances and not getting work because they can't work. they are now alcoholics and they're down and out, and that's the way they are. I feel sorry for them, but I've just passed them, so I must go into the shop here and get this or buy that, you know. But it's what you have done and what you've created even for me, as they make me see that you've gone into the lives and the stories of these people, that they're more than just the person lying on the ground, you know.
That's right. Well, as human beings, people see them as less than. You know, they're people to avoid, people to walk past and feel just a wee bit embarrassed for the split second that you walk past them. Nobody ever knows anything about them, and they are people just like you and me. They're your sons, they're your daughters, they're your father. I mean, these people are not alone. They just didn't receive the facilities like I did to help them get off it, and it took them down like the Titanic, where I just believe I was lucky that I managed to get off it. I mean, I always see alcoholics on the streets, people see them as almost zombies. The people when you see them coming, you cross the street, they're less than, they're dishevelled, they're grey. You know, they're less than, but if anything, they're more than, because they understand the human condition more than the average person does.
Yeah.
Because they know they've been at the bottom, when a lot of them still at the bottom, and that's the best way to view the human condition, is from the bottom, in my opinion.
So then it's the whole climb then, once you've hit rock bottom, it's how do you get back? You know?
Some people can't get back because they never... I was lucky. I had parents that dragged me to the Northern Centre. But only way I can explain why some people end up in their 60s lying on the street drinking is because they never had parents that dragged them to the Northern Centre. I just believe that I'm lucky.
And I know in a lot of the clips again I was watching, you can see that you're chatting to someone and they say, no, I haven't got no family. Well, I have a brother and a sister, but they don't speak to me anymore because they drink. So you can see then the other side, but they're so frustrated with it, and they've done so much for so many years, and saying, you know what, I can't handle this anymore for my own self and well-being. I'm not going to bother with him or her, and that becomes then that they're on their own. You know?
Well, that's right. I mean, if my parents never gave up on me, but I suppose I was fairly young and they only had to struggle with me, say for about 14 years. But I was still, I was still childlike, you know, in my early 20s and that, so they would still be with me 100%. But I suppose if you're older, when your mother and father go, your brothers and sisters don't feel you have that onus on them to really go in there like the charge of the light brigade and drag you out.
Yeah.
And brothers and sisters have their own children as well, and they become a priority, and that's why alcoholics slip through the family net.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. People just lost hope in them, because time and time again they fell to the drink, and that's why families desert them. And it's not even the word desert's a bit strong. You just give up, because some alcoholics just show no signs of ever recovering.
So any family members now, or indeed anybody who has a problem with the drink, understand, you know what, I'm listening to this here now and it's really striking a chord with me. What can I do? Where can I go to get help?
Well, see, I set up Gavin Patton films as a bridge from someone like me who didn't know anything about alcoholism. I just wanted to set up a bridge for people to get enough education so they can cross over to the like of their GP, which will give them education about their illness, or in fact to a bridge to cross over to the like of the Northern Centre. Because as I say, when I was an alcoholic, I had no when I was a recovering alcoholic, I had no education on my illness, and I believe the education, or a lack of education, goes a long way to keeping people drinking.
And we're going to just listen to a clip now, and it was recorded in John Street. Was it 2 years ago, is that right?
Well, it was about, the documentary took about 6 years and all,
Yeah.
so it's
A few years ago.
a few years ago, any time within that.
And so the guy's called Sonny, and you had said that Sonny has now passed away.
He has passed away, he's bad to give up.
So just in the sense, he's a big strong looking man as well, you know, and I think, what age was he in this recording?
He's 50 odd.
50 odd.
But he was a great bricklayer. I remember my father would say that he worked with him building the Rossville flats.
Right.
So it wasn't like alcohol just overtook him,
Yeah.
and it took his trade from him. You know, for someone who was admired for their bricklaying skills to somebody who was lying up against a brick wall.
Yes, that's
So that's what it does.
and then if anybody does want to actually see this, it is again Gavin Patton Films on YouTube. And just to give a kind of description of a man, he's wearing a big orange jacket, he's wearing a black Benny hat, and the black Benny hat he's got on is the same colour as his forehead, which is black, not even blue, pure black with bruising. His face, his nose, his cheeks, almost to his chin, his earlobes, everything is covered. It's just pure black with bruising where he got a beating. And then when he opens his eyes in it, it's almost like his eyes is pure black as well, and his pupils are strange colour.
That's what it says. He's like a zombie. You see zombies in zombie films, or different coloured eyes, different coloured patches on their face.
Yeah, so we'll have a listen to it to see exactly what when this young girl is passing by and what she says when she sees him.
Jesus!
Bad shit on it?
What's happening, son? Eh?
Alright.
Get the sound good. Look, I don't know what happened.
That's just sitting there, right? It's quite bad.
Does anyone on the centre know what happened?
It's not open.
Is anyone down the bridge?
So there we are. That was a couple of girls there that had come across him, as you can hear what they were shouting about it. You know, they say they see him. It was you do get a fright when you look at him. You know, and I don't imagine how bad, how much it was. But had it been, had I seen him in the street.
I walked on the other side of John Street when I was out looking to film people, and I had to look twice. And I was actually frightened to go over to him for a second because he just looked so unhuman. And that was a result of a beating. He didn't fall because the other two girls who were drinkers.
FM, in the heart of your community.
It is indeed the Silver Fox here, and we were chatting just before that song to Gavin Patton from Gavin Patton Films, and he's still here in the studio with us. And Gavin, I suppose it is a very sensitive issue, which we're talking about alcoholism and about awareness and making people aware of what you can, for families as well as alcoholics, and where you can go for help and assistance.
That's right.
And we're now also joined in the studio with Patrick Cook, who's the presenter here at Drive 105 too, who he knows you as well. He grew up with you.
Oh, from your dad.
Is that right?
Your dad.
and Patrick, you're also you're I suppose as every family in there you could possibly say.
Our family, well, my brother was an alcoholic. Started drinking when I was 16. Sadly died a few years back when I was 54. And you know, from day one I heard Gavin chatting on my way in. It's the disease. It's not that you want to go out and drink. Once you start drinking, drink gets a hold of you, and you know your life goes downwards. And if there's nobody out there to try and help you, like Gavin saying that he's more far and there, and might be drag him to the AA centre. You know, you need your family to help you to try and get along. We sent my brother to Newry at one time, and it was off for a while. And when he came back, shortly after he came back, my grandmother died, and it sort of set him back, and he had to drink, and he had it really hard then. But and he never stopped drinking from then. But you know, as Gavin said, people walk past him in the streets think, oh, I'm not going near them. They're human beings.
Yeah.
They're just like me and you. They need somebody out there to maybe try and help them. Their family, their brothers or sisters, if their parents are no longer here, to try and help them. I know myself, I looked after my brother while he was in the house in the Wells. I looked after all his finances and whatever had to be done. But you know, only for the help of Andy up in the house in the Wells, Davey Barber and all the rest of the staff. You know, the amazing work that they do up there, they help these people. They try to give them a better way of life. You know, you have to give them a lot of, you know, how would I say, praise for what they do. But a lot of people don't see this. You know, you might see people out in the street collecting for the likes of House in the Wells or collecting for the Foyle Haven. Give them, because this money is getting used very, very well to help these people. They try to get them off their drink, try to see them to see a better way of life. You know, but most people don't see it that way. People see it now, and they don't realise that's a disease. You know, these people didn't wake up this morning and say, I want to be an alcoholic. They don't do that. It's just, as Gavin said, it's just in your body. When you take your first drink, that first drink could hook you for the rest of your life. You know?
And I suppose it's the same as Well, and growing up from childhood right through, you're always given these. You behave yourself, or you do this, or you'll not get that, or you do this, and I'm telling you it's your last chance. And then it stems into when you're older, or whenever age you become, that you're an alcoholic, and then your family and friends are saying, "See if you take another drink, you'll not be back in my house again." See if you do. Those steps don't work because you can't stop drinking.
I'll take up what you say there, Kevin, that families and friends. I have been in places, parties, where I see parents giving a child a drink. No, this shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
No, no. Number one, they're not 18. They have to make up their own mind if they want to drink. But you see parents going, "You give them that." They're getting a child drunk. It can affect that child later on in life. Do you understand what I'm saying? No.
But I'm wondering, and the other side of that coin, maybe you can see it in more European countries where children are introduced at a young age with a glass of wine or something like that.
And like the France give their child a glass of wine. I don't agree with that. You have to be a
So
legal
do you
age.
think the statistics is less so there or more here because you're simply not allowed until you're the age of 18?
Well, I think here we are Irish. We have a drinking culture,
Yeah.
but in a way it's bad. It's bad that we have that tag that the Irish love their drink. And that's why I think so many young people are getting hooked at a very, very early age on drink. You only have to look around the town today and you see how young the alcoholics are in the town today, Gavin. You're chatting young fellas at 17, 18, 19 years of age, lying around William Street, over the flyover. You see them out on the fly road. No, it's serious. Like, and young girls too as well. No, like
And
you
then-
have to look at Floyd Valley House, go over and look at it and see how many young girls is in there, and then they're hooked and drink. No,
Yeah.
it's a serious problem.
And did you find that then, Gavin, when you were recording for Gavin Patton Films, when you were out and about, did you think, years ago, you almost, they were almost characters in a sense, weren't they? And they were
Sammy and Sheila.
Sammy and Sheila, they were celebrities in the town in that sense. But you can see, for you recording, I suppose there was no shortage of people to record because of the amount of them.
People still talk about Sammy and Sheila, but people don't know about the horror and the misery that must have ran their lives.
Yeah.
And so Sammy and Sheila really, people talk about them fondly, but people don't know the misery went on there. And two people that I were at primary school together, I always see them now in the town street drinking, and I was talking to one of them there one day, and he says he would appear in one of my films, but it's just a question of hunting them down now. You see it everywhere from different ages, male, female, it doesn't discriminate if you're male or female or what age you are. If you're hooked, you're hooked. It's in you.
Yeah.
It's gonna do its damnedest to take you down.
And because you have gone full circle in the sense where you got your degree in filming, and then you have, well, I suppose for your love of drink at the time, and you're able to have enough self-esteem once you had the help of the family to get yourself back on track, and then now you go back out again. I suppose there's nobody. If someone says to you, "What are you doing recording me?" or what do you can first hand say, "Well, do you know what? I know first hand."
I have a small amount of skills because I've done a film degree, so it would be irresponsible of me not to do anything with it.
Yeah.
If I was helped, so I just want to try and help other people a wee tiny bit. And he says there too, my love of drink, Kevin, I never loved drink. I never had one good drink. Anytime I first put a drop of drink in my mouth, I always felt, oh God, where just going to lead to? Because it normally led to A&E or
Right.
somewhere like that. I never loved drink.
So it was just,
Every drink I took, I had a fear of God in me.
was it a case of drinking, then you just passed out there? Or what?
I mainly blackouts, but I didn't love it. I needed it
Yeah.
because of the disease. Said you need this drink. It's like an antibiotic. To me, the body was telling me you have to have drink. But that's the same with most alcoholics. They don't love drink. They hate drink. I have a real hatred for drink, and I always have, even when I was drinking.
Yeah, and you could see in the documentary that you've done that it gives face and it brings to light the characters within the people. You have some dodgy, colourful characters with colourful language, but in the same time, you had some great banter with them as well, and it was almost the point where I was watching and I forgot about everything else, but I was just watching your documentary because it kind of took you away into their lives of these people, and they're not just, as I said before, not just people who land in the corner of the street,
But that's the way it is, isn't it, Patrick? They are people, and they will give you open and honest opinions. They won't edit themselves for the camera.
Well, the way they are, this is me. This how you see me is how I am. If you don't like it, well, that's it. Go on. You know what?
They won't edit
Yeah,
themselves for you.
That's it.
Don't try and
they'll not
please you.
change themselves. They'll not change themselves. You know.
And in a way, that's what I'm saying. They're seen as less than, but in a way, I always see street alcoholics as more than, because they will be honest.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they have a more understanding of people at the bottom who tell you more about life than people at the top.
Honestly.
Every day.
I remember. You remember Maura Wade?
Mm.
Maura Wade met my brother one day in William Street, and Jimmy turned around and went, "Maura, any chance you a wee pound to get a wee cuppa?" No, Jimmy, one you with me, and she went to take him on to Frankie Ramsey's, and he ran away. She was taking him up for a cup of tea.
Last time you wanted was a cup of tea. I'm more away some crack with you. When I was drinking, if I was hungover or something like that, and somebody says, "Do you want a cup of tea?" No.
Last
Do you
thing
want
in
a
your
sandwich? No.
last thing in your mind.
Back on the drink.
Food, tea, food was the last thing in your mind.
Oh, aye.
Couldn't get our Jimmy to eat a thing.
When I needed a drink, I would have drunk a smelly sack.
Yeah.
But I would have.
But is it because of that of the
Well, it's
of
hard
the,
to explain.
the-
It's just that overall, every cell in your body is calling out for a drink. And you are obsessed with getting that drink. And you are so ill because you've drank so much and you suddenly stop because you ran out of it. You are so ill. You have to have that drink, and you're going to be obsessed with that up until you walk into an off license and you steal it.
Yeah.
You risk everything for that drink. That's after you've begged everybody.
Yeah.
And you find yourself, you don't have the drink, you will steal it.
So at that point now then, how can that person turn around as you have done?
Blind luck. I'm not special, I'm not blessed. I was lucky that I had my parents,
Yep.
and I was lucky that I was brought to the Northern Centre the time I was. There's nothing special about me. I wasn't, and I'm not any more stronger than the average street alcoholic. It's just blind luck. So I can't, and I refuse to be patted on the back in any way, shape or form, because I was just lucky. It's blind luck.
No, as Gavin said, it's luck, but and he had his parents. So anybody who's listening out there, if you have somebody who is suffering with drink problems, in your family, help them. Don't push them aside. Give them that help that they need.
And maybe if you haven't got the strength, you can help them so much yourself. But then you can then, I know it is luck in one sense, but there is, or do you think there is enough facilities in Derry for them to go for that extra bit?
Well, you've got the Northern Centre, and you've got your GP and things like that. But not really. Derry doesn't have a drying out centre. You can't go and dry out in the Northern Centre.
You have to go to Belfast.
You have to be 5 days sober before you can go into the Northern Centre, and that's ridiculous. Derry's the size of Derry doesn't have a drying out centre. So it means people have to dry out on their own, which means they don't dry out because they go and get a drink because the sickness is so great.
They're coming down and they're coming down off the drink. They have the shakes and they have this, that, and all, and all they want is that drink. And the only type of help they're going to get is liver. They try and help them come down. If they haven't got that and nobody there, they sit by their sides and try to get them off that drink. They're just going to go off license, or they drink anything.
Oh, aye.
Alcoholic will drink anything and drink it out of anything. You give them meth, they're drinking it. They're drinking it. They'll drink terps. They'll drink.
Do you know
anything.
that alcohol is withdrawing from alcohol is worse than withdrawing from crack cocaine or heroin? Not a lot of people know that. So it's, you see train spotting and things like that there, maybe on the ceiling and stuff like that there. Withdrawing from deep an alcohol binge is worse than any class A drug, and people don't see that. I just want to say too, if you have given up on a family member or a friend, maybe today give them one more chance, because that might be the day when it changes them. Just give them one more chance. This might be the day that changes them.
Well, on that note, I think it's a good way to end the interview, and Gavin Patton Films do, I'm always saying, I'm insisting that you do go on YouTube and check it out and see. Gavin, thank you very much for coming in, and Patrick, thanks very much for joining us as well today. So there we are. It's a very emotional but very poignant interview that needed to be said, Gavin, I think, So